Hi, welcome again to the Painpoint Workshop, Problems and Challenges to Tackle Through Innovation Procurement of Climate Services Based on Earth Observation. Today we have an agenda for you, and we want this be an enjoyable meeting to understand what challenges you are facing and what can we do through innovation procurement. We will go immediately to the context and objectives of PROTECT. Maybe we can start when we start the dialogue, the open discussions, we can present ourselves. But for the moment, we will do the context and objectives of PROTECT and see what the aim is related to climate service and based on Earth observation for pre-commercial procurement. The EAFIB methodology will focus on step 1, that is the needs analysis and the expected outcome from this session. Then we will have questions and open discussions. And finally, we will have the next steps, what we'll do after this workshop. So what is the context and the objectives of PROTECT? The mission of PROTECT is to prepare and equip a community of public authorities buyers to undertake one or more joint cross-border or coordinated pre-commercial procurement process to steer the development of the next generation of climate services based on Earth observation data. PROTECT is already undertaking activities to be strategically positioned for the upcoming Horizon PCP call, that is the Horizon call on governance that you see on the customization and operationalization of prototypes and end user services in the area of climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. So through PROTECT, the public buyers, the public authorities that face similar pressing challenges related to climate change will be connected and supported in the formulation of concrete and realistic needs for Earth observation-based climate services applicable to 5 application domains. So in the first place, I would like to take your phone and use the QR code of to Mentimeter, because we have a question for you. So you can scan the QR code and enter the first question. So I will do it myself too, okay? And the question is, what is the experience of your organization with Earth observation data and or related services? And you can vote starting now. So make sure you have your QR code and ready to vote. So we go now to the, wait. Yes, we're having some questions. Yeah, okay. We go to the next slide on this. So what is the experience of your organization? And you can vote. Okay. So most of participants are aware of Earth observation data services, but not using them. So one of them is using them. Okay, that is really nice. And perhaps the person who indicated that they are using the Earth observation services can give us some insights on that, or can make a short intervention to say how this. Yeah, thank you, Kees. Please take the floor and let us know a little bit about your experience.
We are currently using Earth observational data to view ground deposits of soil, and we're using AI to have a model to see where the soil is going.
Okay, great. And would you need more data, or do you need other functionalities that would improve what you're doing at the moment?
We are interested in other types of Earth observational data use to go beyond just monitoring soil in our region.
So. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is perfect for you. Thank you so much. And for those who are not aware of Earth observation data services, but you are interested, you're aware, but you want to know more, you want the services, let's look a little bit further into what we are going to do in this Painpoint workshop. So we want to do definition and aggregation of needs and functional requirements for climate services, explaining, fostering, and supporting a buying impact approach. to prepare the operational ground for one or more pre-commercial procurement process. So that is the main purpose. So today we're setting some initial steps to define these challenges and these needs and see what else we can do. Yes. Somebody wanted to say something? No? Okay, no, just feel free to raise your hand, interrupt me if necessary. Yeah. So what we were trying to do is to describe the requirements that meet the requirements that we want to formulate in specifications for an innovation procurement. We know that functional and performance-related requirements are appropriated to favor innovation in public procurement, and they should be used as widely as possible. So we want to describe what the solution must do and must meet, giving suppliers sufficient space and freedom to come up with new ideas. And perhaps we get solutions that we have not imagined beforehand, but we need to know what you need to do. So we say that there's no innovation without functional specification. And one of the challenges today is to raise these questions on what the problem you want to solve and what is the cause of the problem. So how to tackle the problem, why do you want to tackle the problem, by setting a clear scope of study of the problem you want to solve, and use some techniques in order to do that. So let's see if today this challenge can be achieved with your input. We know that there are some problems and risks that are already evident in the application domains. For example, in marine and coastal environments, we see sea contamination, pollution, rising levels. In energy utilities, interruption of services. In sustainable and urban communities, that is the purpose of this working group, we have problems such as waste management, contamination, heat waves, water scarcity, etc. And we see, look at into the EU taxonomy regulation, we see that the change adaptation should substantially contribute to reducing or preventing these risks or these problems. So we want to tackle that, and we want to see how, which are the main problems that you challenge, that are common, that can be addressed with innovation and perhaps with R&D that create novel solutions. In principle, we have posed one problem that was mentioned in the high-level conference in Barcelona, the Protect High-Level Conference in Barcelona. That was the illegal dumping of waste. It was mentioned and stated during the high-level conference that this is a problem that is a collective problem that can lead to dramatic consequences, because if you have heavy floods and the waste is carried down to the soil or the water, it can cause really a lot of damage. The question was, how can Earth observation help with waste management and climate change adaptation or mitigation? And some of the answers that were, addressed during the conference were that Earth observation can contribute to detect, to monitor, to warn, to have an alerting system already integrated so that public authorities can work together, can provide better services. So this was one of the problems mentioned, and here I would like you to give your feedback on the next question. And the next question is whether the detection of illegal waste dumping is a relevant need for your organization or not. So we want to see whether this is also something that you are interested in addressing. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. So this is go, and the players are ready. So we will see. I'm going to that all of you join. So we're going to do description. And now that we're here, we go to the question. Yeah, that is the detection of illegal waste dumping a relevant need for your organization? You see, votes are coming. 10 more seconds. Let's see. Okay, you voted. Oh, there we go. So it is relevant for some of you. It's not relevant for others. Perhaps we have one. Okay, so we can discuss this further, but let's go into the next possibility, into the next slide that we have for you. So let's go more into what Earth observation is and what are the possibilities that these technologies offer for us. And I would like to give the floor to Joanna. Please, Joanna, take the floor.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our PainPoint workshop. As we have seen in the beginning, some of you are not very familiar with the Earth observations, so it's good because we will give you an introduction in it. And according to the European Space Agency, the Earth observation is defined as the process of acquiring observations of the Earth's surface and atmosphere via sensors mounted on satellites, aircrafts, drones, or at the surface, resulting in data in the form of digital imagery. And for the last couple of years, Earth observation has been an essential tool for monitoring the planet, the environment, the human activities on the planet, and also the impacts that these activities are having. And for instance, Earth observation has been fundamental to monitoring climate change over the past few decades, as satellites provide a clear, uniform, and continuous picture of changes across the entire planet. The vast amount of data collected through Earth observation is processed and converted into actionable information for the end users across several industries. What is good to know is that two supporting technologies that enable this intermediate step of processing Earth observation data are artificial intelligence, or AI, and cloud computing. When it comes to cloud computing, the advancements over the past few years have enabled the efficient storage and processing of digital data, thereby has facilitated the conversion of Earth observation data into useful analytics. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, which is the field of computer science dealing with making intelligent computer programs, has allowed the huge amount of data collected from satellites on a daily basis to be combined effectively, allowing the users to derive the needed insights. So these two together, the convergence of AI and cloud computing, have enabled the rapid growth of the EO market, leading to the development of several applications of Earth observation. Next slide, please. Thank you. What is good to know is that one of the largest Earth observation programs in the world is Copernicus program, which is being managed by the European Commission. And it has the objective of monitoring and forecasting the state of the environment on land, on sea, and in the atmosphere in order to support the climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies, the efficient management of emergency situations, and the improvement of the security of every citizen. Served by the dedicated Copernicus Sentinel satellites, the data collected is then integrated with non-satellite sources to provide reliable and up-to-date information about 6 thematic areas, which are land, marine, atmosphere, climate change, emergency management, and security. Thank you. Next. So, what is the role of the Earth observation in climate services then? Well, as the climate crisis continues to grow with the ongoing global warming, the governments and the businesses around the world are focusing on climate adaptation and climate mitigation initiatives. Therefore, Earth observation data is expected to play a crucial role in the development of climate services, both focusing on adaptation and mitigation. Satellites, which have been monitoring the Earth continuously and helping our understanding of climate change, provide vital information regarding the state and the evolution of the environment, as well as regarding the human activities on the planet. As a result, the climate services applicable to several industries are expected to integrate Earth observation data into their products in order to take into account the environmental factors and changes over the time. Several emerging climate services have already started to integrate Earth observation data into their development, from providing extreme weather alerts for better disaster preparedness to both governments and businesses, to delivering crop-level insights to farmers, enabling water savings and improving overall yields. There are a number of climate services currently available in the market across a number of industries. And thank you. Next.
Okay, yeah.
So how can climate services apply to the 5 application domains? For this, we have examples, one example for each application domain. And now we will be focusing on the one related with the sustainable urban communities. So first of all, as a definition, just so you know, the green and sustainable urban communities operate usually their human, natural, and financial capital with the goal to meet the current and future needs in a sustainable manner while prioritizing a long-term perspective. When it comes to the climate services, they rely on Earth observation data for assessing and forecasting air quality and pollen concentration and assisting urban planning and operations like monitoring and preventing heat islands, building greener cities, but also optimizing green cities, in particular when these are implementing elements of a smart, for example, Internet of Things, infrastructures. Thank you. Next. Thank you. So now we can talk about the example of usage in the category of environmental monitoring. And to be more specific, then we can focus on air quality monitoring in the urban environments. By using the satellite data and in-situ measurements, Earth observation can support the detecting, the collecting, and interpreting information on a multitude of air pollutants, also including their origins, movement, and expected health risks. So if you take a look into the picture that we have in the slide, it can be seen that these measurements can be either taken by satellites, by aircrafts, by drones, and in the middle, you can see how these images are being seen by the scientists, and all these informations that can be seen into those images, they can be switched into valuable data and information in order to in order to provide solutions or results to for adaptation and mitigation regarding the problem. Thank you so much, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for this clear presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience now? Or maybe for later?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
My name is Ovidiu Slimac. I'm from Romania, Timișoara, the European Cultural Capital this year. I'm glad to be here with you. I'm an engineer. I have a question. What is the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning?
Okay. You would like to reply to that, Joanna? Or?
I think it goes a bit beyond my knowledge that I have right now, but as far as I can understand, is that the artificial intelligence is a category of the programs, while the machine learning is one type of it, because there are like different ways of creating making the programs to be automative and in order to be able to process all the data.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this answers to your question.
Yeah, so machine learning is one type of artificial intelligence that also learns with trained data. Yeah? So you give the data and it trains itself. Anybody who wants to add something else? Did it solve your question, Ovidiu? in general terms?
Maybe just a machine learning is really
Mhm.
focusing on learning from data experiences and
Mhm.
without having been programmed beforehand, but it doesn't, as you said, it's a subset. So in fact, artificial intelligence really tries to mimic at a more integrated level human intelligence. Machine learning is actually just a kind of technical component of it. So artificial intelligence goes beyond that, and typically the sense making is not necessarily something that machine learning wants to do beyond the functionalities it's supposed to address.
Thank you very much, Tantam. Thank you. Okay, any more questions for the moment? No? Thank you, Joanna. And just let's look at an example of the functional requirements in sustainable urban communities based on the information you have given to us. So what we do is we're using a verb, an active verb, and a measurable noun to describe that, to give a functional requirement. So for example, we have measuring carbon storage, mapping local climate zones, mapping air quality, obtaining high resolution vegetation data, adapting city policies and reducing exposure to pollution, monitoring 3D buildings, landslides, pipelines, bridges, analyzing rooftops and calculating the potential of solar power, mapping thermal distribution to identify heat losses and to assess electrical consumption. So you see there are many possibilities, many functionalities that could be tackled, and that's why we like to see which are the ones that you think could really tackle your needs, could be important for you and for your organization. So let's, in this context, see what climate services is Protect looking at. And I would like to give the floor to Stefka to give us a short presentation on what Protect is doing with regard to the taxonomy and in relation to the domain on sustainable urban communities.
Thank you very much, Ana Lucia. I think indeed the question what climate services is Protect looking at is the right one here. We did, as part of Protect, work a little bit on creating a taxonomy of relative climate services, so that climate services, so that we can have an idea and present to people in less abstract terms what we are talking about. We did that by crossing already existing taxonomies on climate services with taxonomies on Earth observation services. This is, of course, climate services can use Earth observation, but not all climate services use Earth observation. So in this way, it's sort of subcategory. So the broader taxonomies didn't really feed our purposes or the purposes of Protect. So what we came up with are several crossing it with the USPA taxonomy of Earth observation based services. We came up with several subdomain and different categories in the 5 Protect domains. And as today's webinar is dedicated to the domain of sustainable urban communities, here in front of you, you can see the category of climate services and the subdomains that they belong to. So this you can indeed consider as examples of climate services where Earth observation is really used currently at the level of market level, which means that these are currently services that you can more or less go out and take off the shelf. So maybe you would hear more about that in the context of the further explanations, but it is just an example because indeed it's off-the-shelf services, and the aim of pre-commercial procurement is not really to have an off-the-shelf service and procure it, but it's useful to probably know what is the state of play. So here you can see different categories of climate services that could be interesting because they are divided from the point of view of the demand. So we advocate for all public authorities or anyone really who is looking into procuring climate service to have a look to see if there is a category of climate services that corresponds to their needs, and if not, to be aware that there are needs that are not currently serviced by the market. So I would leave it there, and I see that maybe there is a question or someone raising hand for something.
Yes.
Anything?
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
please.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about thermal auditing? Because one of the possible needs we see is the prediction of waste fires and waste. That's an actual theme here in the Netherlands. Has that something to do with thermal auditing or?
Not in this way. The thermal auditing we are talking about here is the thermal auditing of buildings. So the idea is that by capturing with Earth observation data and maybe crossing it with other data, you can see what is the temperature emitted from different buildings. And it's mostly used to survey different urban domains for the purposes of well, how insulated a building is compared to how insulated it should be.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
But it's a very interesting need that you have. You said it's from the fires coming from waste.
Now-
Is that it?
Waste.
Yeah, there are some conditions to be met for a waste fire to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can predict waste fires, like if you take, for instance, the humidity, the height of a waste pile, the temperature of the air, but also the inner temperature of a waste pile, maybe you can. I don't know if it's possible. You can predict if a fire is going to happen, and we have all these data. We know when waste fires have happened in the past. So maybe you can make a model to predict waste fires.
It sounds very plausible, and it's very interesting to see that corresponds to an actual needs, especially if this is, you said that all of this is data that you currently have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And because as Stefan mentioned, we are looking for unmet needs that actually require some research and development. So there's room for innovation, what could be novelty. But Kees, just because we didn't do the third table, but could you present yourself and tell us which organization you belong to?
Yes.
Just to give it that context, yeah.
I work for the DCMR, that's an environmental protection agency here in Rotterdam, in the Rotterdam harbor area. And yeah, we are focused on enforcing the environmental law here in the Rotterdam harbor area.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And then I think it would be good to explore a little bit more the need that you have and see whether this need is also common for others. Nowadays with the fires, I think it's something that could be relevant for all of us. So thank you so much. And we continue, we will see, okay, we'll have this for the other application domains, but let's go now to the second point of this workshop to give a context on innovation procurement and why we are using the EAFIP methodology. We want to apply the EAFIP methodology, which is a methodology developed in the context of the European Assistance for Innovation Procurement, that is an initiative of the European Commission. And the EAFIP methodology is actually a step-by-step methodology to implement, to conduct a procurement of innovations. We have several steps that are described here. It starts with the research of latent needs. Then we go to needs assessment and prioritization, that we can do sessions with end users. We have to evaluate those needs. Once we have the needs identified and scope, we can perform a state-of-the-art analysis to see whether there are relevant patterns with relevant standards and literature, to see also who are the possible innovative suppliers, mapping the different companies that are working in several fields. With these results, we challenge the market. We inform the market that we are intending to start an innovation procurement, and we let them know our findings. We test a business case and the assumptions that we have at the moment to see the insights they have and whether they can respond to these challenges. Then we have a business case development, so the cost and benefits analysis, and we formulate different scenarios to define then our procurement strategy and the writing of the tender documents based on the let's say the technology readiness levels of the solutions. We decide whether the route is to go for a pre-commercial procurement of R&D services or a public procurement of innovative solutions where the TRL levels are higher, and we can actually buy these solutions at a closer that are closer to the market. Then we go to the procurement procedure itself, the tender process, the evaluation of proposals, the award of the public contract, then the contract management. For PCP, we have phase 2 and phase 3 when we do the monitoring of the milestones and deliverables, and we contract manage that. The last steps are the evaluations and the lessons learned in a continuous cycle to see whether we reach the benchmarks, what is needed to be improved. And the post-contract management also relates to monitoring, for example, the IPR obligations, whether there's a royalties, whether there are obligations to actually commercialize the solutions in the market, also obligations regarding standardization, and the links to venture capital investors. So now we want, within the context of PROTECT, concentrate and focus on the 5 steps of the EAFIP methodology. And we have named these 5 steps the EAFIP business case methodology. So you have here the 5 steps of needs analysis, prior art analysis and IPR search, the analysis of the standards landscape, the market consultation, and the value calculations. And we are here. We're at the beginning. We're trying to get to an agreement on the needs, the common needs that we have based on the problems, based on the requirements that you formulate. And this workshop is precisely to come up with these problems and see whether other public authorities are interested in aggregating this demand for a pre-commercial procurement. Okay, so we're in step 1, the needs assessment and prioritization. We're asking you what challenges and problems do you face, whether they are current, whether they are future. We want to have this workshop to give you the room, the space to talk about it, to discuss about it, to put on the table these problems that you have, and have this functional base specification or functional base requirements set up, at least in a first step. So we expect from this workshop to describe a problem, the needs as a functional requirement, optimally to have a use case related to the climate services using Earth observation, and define a value pilot. So when a scenario related to the new to be developed climate service using Earth observation. And that's what we're going to do in the next steps. So we have chosen some value methodologies to do that. These are reflected in the questions and in the setup of this workshop. So these are used to prioritize and fine-tune needs in the 5 application domains. We are going to define some keywords after the workshop, when we have already defined the problems and the use cases. And these keywords will serve us to conduct a state-of-the-art analysis, market analysis, and IPR search. And this will give us an overview of whether there's room for innovation, whether these are the right procurement challenge that could be addressed through one or several pre-commercial procurement specifically. So what we want to find out: functions, use cases, value pilots. So we have sent you already some information on the function analysis system technique. We want to formulate the problem, see why we want to solve it, what is that we want to solve, and in a logical manner see which are the functionalities that we require. With value stream mapping and value stream design, these are based on the Lean methodologies. We want to see the problem as it is now and the dream situation that we want to achieve, and the steps that we will follow in order to do that, to see where lies the value and the more valuable actions that we need to take. So here we go to the third question, and you can please look into the Mentimeter and write some words to give an idea of what the pressing challenges, climate challenges or problems that your organization faces. We have some time to vote. I'll give you some time to vote. And wait, I have to give you now. Same. You're back. We have some time to come in. let's see. I don't have any results. Page. There it is. Okay, so here we have some interesting problems. So we're talking about air quality as the main one. Those who have chosen air quality, could you give us a little bit, yeah, some input on why you have chosen that? Why do you find this as an important problem, as one of the main ones for you? I give the floor, or you can also use the chat if you don't want to open up the microphone. Okay. Okay, yeah, please, if you can write on the chat the air quality. Okay, no, nobody wants to participate, mention the air quality. So we have also persistent chemicals. Anybody who would like to give some input on that? No? You're a little bit shy today, but it's not a problem. So perhaps let's talk about fires. That's something that Case mentioned before. Is this something common for others or other people, other participants? You can use the chat. No? No intervention. Maybe I ask. I see some people in the, let's see. Now we move to what kind of problems with water do you face? Okay. Anybody who would like to give some input on the replies that we have at the moment? We see air quality as a problem. That means some of you have voted for air quality, but nobody would like to take the floor? No? No, I think Ovidio.
I don't open my camera because it looks like that, and
Okay, that's okay, Ovidio.
I want to mention that maybe air quality is related with persistent chemicals, because in our cities we have plants who use a lot of chemicals, who diverse in the river nearby the towns, and that it's the link with water. Maybe like Keith says, it's a good relation. It's a relation between waste fires and air quality, because if something happened and is starting a fire, automatically air quality is going to be poor. And I think that water also it's a prominent component of our lives in any forms. We are 70% water. Our planet is 70% water. So we have to be careful about this, because it's an important issue. So air quality, like a bottom line, I think that it's related almost with all of what I see on the screen: chemicals, waste management, soil remediation, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ovidio. Anybody who would like to comment on that? Do you face the same problems? Many cities already face these problems, indeed. Okay, but let's pass to the next slide, because I have another question for you. So be ready to answer to this one. This is related to how can Earth observation data support the tasks of your organization to contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation. You can write on this on the slide. Let's go there. You will have some time to do that. You can write one sentence, and then we have one player ready, only one. I give you some time for the others to join. Yeah. Okay. Let's give some time to the other players that I go. Okay, now we have some other players. Yeah, okay, let's do great. Let's do the voting. We have few players, but I encourage you to come in. So let's see what you have. So you have some time still to write. Yeah, you can write a short sentence related to the problems that you have stated. So we already have mentioned some of the problems related to air pollution, to the fires, control of the fires. So let's see how you describe them in a few words. Okay, a few seconds. I give you a few seconds extra so that you could actually reply. Let's go. Time is going on. Okay, we have a little bit more than 1 minute. So let's look at the answers. Unexpected fires causing losses, identification of fires. Okay, so let's go further into this problem that has been stated, okay? Okay, we have these problems. Very good. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, now, so for those who have mentioned this problem, and I think I'm going to go back to you, Kees. I don't know if it's Kees of Kees, please correct me. But could you describe the situation as it is at the moment, the present situation, the problem that you have as it is?
Yes, I can only describe it what probably is here in the Netherlands. But the problem is as followed. There are waste facilities that store waste, and the piles do spontaneously go on ignite, causing bad air quality, causing the loss of waste. We cannot use the waste for good purpose. So that's a shame, and that's the present situation.
Okay, and when it happens, how do you tackle that? How do you resolve it?
As an Environment Protection Agency, we ask the waste management facility to evaluate the accident. And most of the time they say, yeah, it happened. So we ask waste management facilities to monitoring themselves. So they have to check the temperature once in a few days or every day. But still, it doesn't prevent fires from happening. So, and we have to make sure the companies monitor the temperatures, and we cannot do that not every day. So
yeah, okay. Okay, and how often does it happen? How often do you have fires coming from these waste that spontaneously ignite?
For our region, it happens 3 times a year. But in the whole of Netherlands, it happens more often. And there are certain, it happens more often in the summer.
Yeah, of course. And can you estimate the costs that this causes in terms of the losses, but also the efforts that the institutions and the staff need to put in?
Yeah, that's difficult because it's not only the loss of fire or the loss of air quality. It also is the inspections that we have to do to prevent fires from happening. And if we can do it by means of observational data and AI, that would be that would cost us less money, less effort.
Yeah, indeed. So if you could dream on this, you could have the dream wish situation, how would it be? Like, just think of it if we had like a magic wand. What could it be?
The dream
ideal
situation would be that we would get a notification when there's a higher risk of a fire from happening. And we can call the company and say you have to take measures.
Okay, very interesting. I would ask, don't go Kees, because I would like to ask to our colleagues whether this is possible to, to have these images or this monitoring of these areas. In theory, whether this would be possible with Earth observation. Perhaps Stefka or Joanna or Tantam. In principle, would that be possible?
From my perspective, it would be possible. It can be monitorized, the area with the waste as well. It can be monitorized, like the temperature. I'm assuming that like the periods when these situations are happening is mostly linked to the summer, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And the temperatures are increasing a lot, and also like implementing an early warning
system.
Situation can definitely happen from theoretical point of view, but from practical point of view, maybe Stefka can add more.
Yes, thank you so
not
much,
necessarily
Stefka.
adding more, but a little bit building on that. It depends in a very banal manner of like the size of the waste that you have, because satellites see what they see, and then part of let's say the if we can call it that way, it's part of the low resolution can be moderated by using different algorithms to make a service out of it. But it's also very important that you already have different data. And however, here we're talking about satellites, which is not necessarily the only type of Earth observation data. So, for instance, many of the disadvantage of low resolution with satellites, it's typically not something that you encounter, for instance, if you can get your information through drones. But then I'm not really familiar with all the parameters that you need to measure to foresee a forest fire. Certainly, I can tell that certainly some of them would be able to see through satellites. Certainly, some of them you would not. But then it also depends on what are the specifications that you need to get data on overall, and what sort of algorithm you could have in place to turn all this information into a service. And I hope that answer was more useful than confusing.
But Stefka, in your knowledge, are there services like this already offered in the market?
I am not familiar of these things being offered on a service level. I know that there is research on that, even research that now dates back maybe even a decade or so.
Okay.
But I think I saw a raised hand somewhere, so hopefully someone would be able to provide more insight.
No,
Let's see.
Sorry, I haven't seen the hand, but so if the hand wants to speak, I will leave the floor. But No, otherwise I can just complement that. So
Yes, please, Tom.
I think so my information might be a few months late, right? But I think that the connection there are services which are quite sophisticated, but which are basically working from the ground. So I know that they haven't integrated quite a bit of possibilities from EO and AI. So that I know that almost firsthand, because in fact the one of our colleagues who is working a lot on forestry and has been trying to really bring them to connect with this component. So and knowing them, they're really very much advanced. So I think if there had been this connection already in place, they would know. On the other hand, I know that there are some companies which are small companies which are working really from the space perspective and have interesting modeling tools, but they don't have the depth of expertise on water species, on availability, dispensability, etc., that the other company has, for instance. So one of the live discussions we wanted to provoke was actually to put them together and have a very detailed discussion on how complementary it could be. So I think if that is a topic that is of interest to you, I think it would be worth pursuing, because that could be one of the things where you could have this kind of dialogue with the market to know, well, I mean, those two we know, and we know they're probably among the top, let's say the forefront actors in the space, but there are probably others, so I think the short answer is no, I don't think that the combination of service is available and on the market yet, but building blocks are probably there. So so I can investigate further if you're interested.
Great, thank you so much, Tam. So we could preliminarily say that there's some room for innovation there. There's some work to be done in terms of combining certain methodologies, or also using the data that is available to have some algorithms being developed, right? So let's think a little bit of the steps that we need to reach this ideal situation that you described, the case that you would immediately know. You get an alert, or because there's some already you see high temperatures or the conditions that describe that a fire could occur. So what is the first step that you would need to have in the path towards the desired situation? How do you see it?
I don't really know. I think it's important to know the technical borders of what's possible. And you need to address how frequent you want to update your data, because I don't know what how frequent satellites fly over a certain part of our area. If most satellites take 2 weeks, I don't know. Yeah. So what are the limitations of the different technologies? So I don't know if you want to use a drone, and there are certain limitations here in Rotterdam to have a drone out of the box application or something. So
and what about sensors? Also, my question also for you, Tam or Stefkat, also can use sensors for that in combination with other means to monitor or to observe.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be the first step, to see what are the technical possibilities to do that, whether you can do it with the satellite, whether you can do it with a drone, whether you can use sensors. What would be the second step? Let's say you find out that you need to use several means and possibilities. You choose what do you think is the next step for that?
I think you need to make a model out of all the data which can predict when a fire is going to happen. So you need to aggregate all the data from the past fires to see when the fire did happen, what the cause was, why did it happen. So you need to aggregate all the data, and you have to make a model out of the data you aggregated.
Perfect. Okay, so we do a model, and after you do a model, what do you do?
Then I don't know. I'm a team manager, so I don't know all the technical...
No problem. It is here just let's say brainstorming. What do you
Yes.
think it could happen? Just brainstorming the steps that we would need to do. As
If you have aggregate all the data, you have to train a model, and you see if the model does what it needs to do. Keep your fingers crossed that a fire happens that you can predict.
Okay. Okay. Can you think of another step for that? Let's say you already have the model, you're already training the model with the data, and okay, now perhaps anticipate the fire.
Yes. And yeah, and then go to work. So, make use of the data and make use of the predictions. I don't know.
Okay, perfect.
I
That
think
would
maybe
be.
sorry, go ahead,
Yes.
Ana Lucia.
No, please, Tantam, go ahead.
No, it's just, I mean, two additional complementary questions, but not necessary to you, Case. If you have the answer, of course, it's but so I think there's one which is how much the composition of the waste that you have to deal with is evolving over time. If it's very stable, you basically can project from what you had in past fires, but you might have something where you want to anticipate future risks which are not there yet.
Yes, that's one of the factors, the composition of the waste material. But the fires happen in metal piles, but also happen in different kinds of waste. The fires are more of a hot topic now than it was in the past. So I don't know if the composition has changed or not. You have to look. We have to look into that for making a better prediction, I guess. What all the factors are. Yeah.
Sure. So I was asking because I suspect that in the kind of solutions you will look for, then the kind of models you need might be a bit different if it's something that's pretty stable and you only want to anticipate the risks better. Or if you expect that the risk is going to evolve, and then you need to have something that has a capacity for learning. And I think the other remark, which is completely obvious, but I think it's one of the points of what we're trying to do, is that you can't be the only one having this kind of issues.
Yeah.
I'm taking one example which is very far from the situation you must have in Rotterdam or Schiedam, but that was about Morocco, where in fact I had this very interesting situation where they had huge wastes in the, Ana Lucia heard this story already. They had a huge waste developing in quite a wild way, just close to the suburbs of the city. And in fact, it was creating a massive health risk and fire risk, but also it was difficult to mitigate because they didn't want to take on the farmland around the city so in fact, and the additional element was that the people who were living next to that were more or less in informal housing, So it's a very different situation from the Netherlands. But there may be some things which are common, which is in the way they actually involve the communities working around in actually managing the waste and turning them from something that was partly informal into something that was formalized, but without completely changing, applying a top-down solution. So I guess what I'm heading at is that if we manage to help you, or you already know that there are a number of other cities in the Netherlands or even in other parts of Europe who have the same kind of challenges, then sometimes it's easier also to put together items from the supply side, because if they know that there are variations, they won't have to make it tailor-made for every individual actor, but there's a number of the methodologies that can be common that accelerates also the response from the market. So. But that's open questions. I mean, not necessarily to address right now, but as your example is really interesting, I think it would be worth digging it further with you at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tantam, like you mentioned, it's a common problem indeed. So that is definitely something that we need to explore further. So here in your use case, the user would be the environmental agency in this case that is monitoring and is responding to this problem or preventing the problem. Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be the use case, and we have defined it. Okay, that's very good. So we have described the steps and let's see that it's going to be worthy also for the following steps that we have. So we had a problem already stated. Indeed, you have mentioned some of the functionalities that you want from that. You want to already being able to monitor, to already send alerts if the temperature raises, if all these conditions that are deemed as the conditions that result in a fire, result in an event can be tackled upon hand. We have a use case where the user is an environmental agency that is monitoring that there is no fire, no fire in the waste, a problem that is common, and a problem that could perhaps use the data from Earth observation in order to do that. So we have some homework to do to examine this further, to see what is possible with the technologies, what other requirements would be needed. We're interested to know the data that you already have. So you mentioned that you have already data on the past fires. Could you mention from how long ago do you have this data? How many years from now?
I really don't know, but most of the data, we have the data when the fires happen, and most of the data are weather info. And I understood that satellite data also has been stored for longer years. So data about the temperature or that's common data, and the weather, and we know when the fires happen and where the fires happened. So maybe we can look back.
Okay. So you have, for example, data on temperature. Can you mention some of the data that you have, like the categories of data that you have?
The only data we have is when the fires happen and where they happen. But there's
Oh,
data about the weather that's stored. That's the Dutch
Weather.
Institute of Weather Institute, the academy. And I hope other data has been stored by other companies.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Case. And then let's think a little bit about if you would have to pilot and the technologies available, how would be the setting of this pilot? How would you foresee? Just like let's think how you would set up that.
Hopefully with people with more technical knowledge than I have. I would set up a pilot with people that have lots of understanding about Earth observational data and making models, AI models that can predict such things, and to see if it's possible just by making a first model. I don't know.
Okay, making a first model. What would be in this, let's say that you have a scenario, you're making this model, and what would be the most valuable for you, worthy from you to find out from this?
The most valuable would be if it's possible or not, just a that more research has to be done, but just to see if it's feasible. That will be my goal.
Whether it's feasible to actually detect
to actually predict waste fires from happening, and to see if more data has to be aggregated, or if it's not feasible or only feasible with on the ground data collection, or I don't know, just to see if it's feasible with the current technology.
Okay, perfect.
And if it's worth it, if the investment is on par with what we can save.
Okay. Let's say if you were going to invest in developing this, whether this is really a good business case for you, let's say. Okay, so that of course, if you examine further this problem in order to carry out the pre-commercial procurement, let's say, that would be also with a grant if we apply for the Horizon Call. So, but indeed, we will have to have this business case developed. Okay, Perfect. So I think we have the outcome, we have our problem, we have our use case, we have an initial, let's say, definition of the pilot and the value pilot. So we are going to finish today a little bit earlier, unless somebody wants to mention or add something, give us feedback. But let's see what are the next steps. The next steps after this workshop, we will have several problems already described in the different workshops, in the different working groups of the application domains. And from those, we're going to select some procurement challenges. We're going to vote and score to prioritize these challenges to see which ones we select in order to define the final use cases and the keywords to perform the SOTA analysis and to identify whether there's room for innovation, that means R&D, and to pursue the pre-commercial procurement in this regard. So if there are not any more questions, it's okay if we finish a little earlier. I really like to thank you very much for your participation, for bringing your ideas here, especially to kids that had a genuine problem, and that we would like to explore these as one of the procurement challenge later on. So thank you very much on behalf of all the Protect partners in the consortium. If you have any questions, please contact me. This is my email. And thank you very much. I will keep you posted. I will send you more information and involve you in the results of the working groups and also the further actions. Thank you and have a great day. Matti, I think you have please, you raise your hand. Would you like to say something?
No, that was a mistake. It's supposed to be an applauding hand.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
And
also,
Lucia, if I may just an invitation for after the meeting also, because we heard from Ovidius Limac also and during the call, so I don't know if he's still there, but it's actually interesting. We worked a bit with the region, I mean with Timish some time ago, but it would be interesting to have his perspective also from an, let's say, transversal procurement perspective on how to combine the needs that he sees in around the city and the region. And so yeah, just an open invitation, not necessary for now, but
thank you.
But for later steps. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Very relevant. Thank you, Tam Tam. Thank you to all, and have a very good afternoon. I hope you enjoy the week. Have a good time.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.